Welcome back, Christine Bentley, Kate Wheeler, and Kris Abel. Kris, I have a bone to pick with you. I don't have a bone to pick with you, actually.
Skeleton bone? Halloween bone?
A Gamergate bone.
Oh, yeah.
What is going on with the comments? Are they fake comments? Are they bots? Or, I mean, it's like a war.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've gone to the Gamergate Hangouts, and there's two websites where they love to hang out. There's one that's a specific thread on Reddit, and they refer to it themselves as being the Gamergate Harassment Squad. I don't know if they're joking with that, but basically whenever there is a high-profile article or a piece about Gamergate, they swarm to it. And part of it is just propaganda. They're trying to immediately take charge of the message, which you often hear in PR, and so they fill the comments section with their own messaging. And I think part of it seems like innocuous at first. They seem to be trying to educate you. But I watched you try to interact with one of them.
Yeah, big mistake.
Kind of, yeah, and it gets disingenuous because you had mentioned, I think, a very good question, which is how can anyone support this and be okay with things like Anita Sarkeesian being driven from her home? And he chose to interpret you as just merely talking about saying bad things on Twitter and said, no, that happened before Gamergate. And he knows better. And so I find that's not helpful.
But a lot of people turned around and said to him, it's like I'm beginning to think you're trolling because you're not getting the fact that this is unacceptable, whether the threats are credible or not. They're terrifying to people.
Yeah, very terrifying. Well, and it's a serious concern. I think most people who come to this for the first time can relate and say, well, if there was a huge issue I was worried about. Right now there's protests, I think, in Europe over a tax law. Well, that's something specific. And when people try to investigate Gamergate, they're like, what is it that you're really upset about at the end of the day? And you can't come to a clear answer. And so that becomes problematic, regardless of whether you want to be empathetic with these individuals. They're clearly quite passionate about something. I just don't know what.
So what was your reaction when you went down to these hangouts?
Well, I mean...
Did you tell them who you were?
No. It's not like that. I went and I read, because everybody is very critical that you don't do your research. And so I've gone to both the websites. I don't recommend going to half of them. There's a place called 8chan, and it's really, really vile. I mean, that's their hangout to really express themselves. And you hear a lot of hatred and a lot of vile jokes and stuff like that. So it's you get to see that there's a duality here. There's the face they put on when they're posting comments on an article in Rolling Stone magazine, and then there's the face they wear when they're all amongst them each other. It's kind of crazy.
Do they screen you if you go into their chats?
No. So this is again, I'm just reading a public forum.
Okay.
That's the odd thing. Everything they write is public. They're doing all their planning publicly, which is the weird thing. When you research it, you go, well, wait a moment. I can see you guys plotting and planning. So don't come here and pretend like it's just, a bunch of people going, well, we're having a discussion about ethics and it's not about ethics and journalism. It's just an excuse to kind of get angry and feel like you're part of something.
And bully somebody.
Well, they like to think that it's a secret club because they have military operations.
A secret club where every conversation is open. So it's you don't have to pass a test to join the chat. It's open.
Oh, they like anybody that wants to join, and anybody looking for an argument is welcome in those kinds of sources. One guy I thought was funny because he was writing, and he's angry at Will Wheaton, the actor, who was called out against Gamergate, and in his tirade against Will Wheaton, because they love him, he had said, it's not fair that you are critical. I'm very passionate about this issue. And, I know about the women, but he says it's not fair because it just happens to be only women that I'm having problems with. And that tells you everything right there.
Okay, now speaking of women,
yes.
My girls in our household actually stopped recently using face washes that contain microbeads because we learned that they were bad for the environment.
Correct, yeah.
But now you're going to tell us something that's come out to help us determine what else, maybe.
The female inventor I wanted to profile this week, her name is Katariina Rantanen, and she is launching a new mobile app for your cell phone called Cosmetics. And the idea here is that when you go into a store and you're picking up a product, you want to know more information about it, you take the camera on your phone and you scan the barcode. And what it does is it then takes the list of ingredients on that product and sort of organizes it, makes it easier to understand. Now this is a couple of things. The first thing is that some companies, they like to hide their ingredients by using Latin names, so it translates it into easy English. The second thing is that it will cross-reference the ingredients to online references and resources. This can be a bit tricky, and she acknowledges this. I mean, if you just take an ingredient off of a list and you look it up in a medical dictionary, you might come to the wrong conclusion. Apples contain cyanide. Bananas have potassium and are slightly radioactive. I think the classic example is caffeine. A lot of people look up caffeine and it says, well, caffeine's a diuretic, so it causes dehydration, and people get panicky about that. But that's only true if caffeine's in a powder or pill form. If it's already been mixed into a drink, then it's not a diuretic anymore because it's got access to water, that kind of thing. So what she's done is they've hired a biochemist to curate this information. And so when it looks up the ingredients, it'll also give you sources, online research from many leading scientific publications, and allow you to kind of come to your own conclusions from there.
Well, I think it's a sign of the times, because I think, Kate, your daughters, certainly my sons, I mean, are hugely environmentally conscious, and they want, and not only about their health, but also what's good for the environment. I think it's great.
Yeah, trying to
they were pretty upset about losing the face washes. They really like those face washes. I can't remember what microbeads do to the.
Well, they get consumed. They get flushed out into the ocean. They get consumed by marine life.
Oh, right, of course.
It's something that can be quite unfortunate in terms of its results. The second half of her app is that she will, once you've come across a product that you have concerns with, then the app will recommend an alternative product. So if you're looking for a face wash that's still good but doesn't have microbeads, then the app will show you that. Now, not all the things that it's going to look at are necessarily complex. There are some issues that are easy to find, and what she's done is she's developed a traffic light system. So when an ingredient pops up and it's something that you've indicated you're worried about, it'll immediately have a color. Red means this is on your bad list, yellow means you need to investigate it, and green means it's okay, it's on your good list. Here is Katariina talking about some clear examples of things where it might be easy to do some filtering. Now, when this launches, initially it's going to be available for the US and Europe. We have different barcodes in Canada. You'll still be able to grab the app, but it'll be a while before the second part comes in. I think what she's created is a really good service. My only concern is that it does seem to be, her plan to make money is based on the idea that she's going to push you towards alternative products to buy, and clearly will have relationships with the companies that make those products.
Yeah, it gets a little dodgy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does, like, I'm doing really good things for the world and I'm getting a 20% kickback for it.
Yeah, but I'm not so much worried about that, because it's I mean, people have to live. So, I mean, she's doing good, but I'm just worried that maybe she could somehow get perverted into supporting something, or fooled, but she's seems a pretty smart woman.
She does seem very smart. I like there have been other apps that try to do this, and they're not as well researched, they're not as well thought out as to how misleading this information can be. I think she's approached it very well, but again, I think even with the best of intentions, you can get to a point where the money and companies are very good at kind of getting their own way, and it's hard to kind of battle that and still keep your altruistic intents intact.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that taking money from Dove would be good for women, supports women and everything. Yet, as somebody pointed out to me, Dove in India makes a face lightening cream for women, which we've talked about is shadeism, right?
Yes.
So different markets, different things, right?
Yeah. But maybe in the end, it pushes cosmetic companies to give people what they want, which is ingredients that don't harm the environment. In this case,
we want the fountain of youth.
Yes, well, we want that too, and we don't want to hurt anybody in the process.
Right. Well, I mean, it sounds, from what I've seen of it, that at the very minimum, she's going to offer you a good source of good information to educate yourself, and I think that's the first step.
Okay, we had an earnings report from Twitter, not so good this morning, but it's got it and Google have some new tools.
Yeah, really good things to look out for that are coming down. The first is that Twitter is trying to eliminate passwords. because people have a hard time remembering passwords. Most of the hacks we report about in the news are based off of bad passwords. So what they've done is they've developed a technology called digits that they're going to offer other companies. And what happens is when you sign up for a new service or a new app, instead of signing up using your password or your email address, they'll simply ask you to type in your telephone number. And now the next time you go to log into that service, what will happen is it'll send a code to your phone. And that's the code that you type in. And it'll be a different code every time. So you don't have to remember a password. Somebody can't hack in and get a hold of your password or guess your password. The idea is that it's going to be more secure. This is something that's already available if you're interested in activating it for some of your accounts. Twitter, Facebook, Google, Apple. If you go into your accounts and go into settings and under security in any of those companies, you'll find what's called two-step verification.
Right.
You can activate that now if it's something that you want. What Twitter is simply doing is saying, look, we've developed technology that allows all companies to do this and make it easy.
So this will work for Gmail?
This will work for Gmail.
Because I'm having a lot of problems with Gmail. So, but that's probably just me.
Right. Well, okay, so the other story is that Gmail is coming out with a new email service called Inbox. And what this does is it takes your email, and as it comes in, it organizes it for you into a to-do list, as well as reminders for tasks that need to be done. So it will recognize two emails that are kind of related to each other and create a bundle with those. It'll also take emails that you can choose to snooze. It's like, well, I need to address this later, so it'll disappear but then come back later in the day. A lot of different organizational tools that are being introduced.
And when is this happening?
Okay, here's the thing. It's available now, but only by invitation. If you have a friend who has it, they can send you an invite. If you're looking for an invite, you can actually send an email to inbox@google.com and request an invite. It'll take a couple of days, but one will come to you.
I'm going to go hire a computer techie to accompany me for the next 3 days, obviously, because when this happens, I'll be in, everything will disappear.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to head into a break now. We're going to talk to Kris more when we come back, because this 3D story is one that would just be perfect in my house. This might make me get one. So stay with us. We'll tell you all about it when we come back on What She Said.
You know, it's